Oh no. Oh no. I'm gonna make some tweets.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna do a little like and a retweet. You just gotta do it for the subs.
for the subs.
Slap that subscribe button.
Exactly. That's how it is.
Let the
Gotta
goose out of the cage.
gotta
You know what
always
I'm
get it.
saying? Getting this fucking thing started up. Gotta mute this tab.
Nah, I was about to say you got the little echo. Ken.
Gotta mute this fucking tab. Now we're talking business.
Yeah, we are. We're in business. Let me pin the.
So when I'm looking in Periscope, it doesn't look as high definition.
No, it's not. And we have the most high def stuff you could possibly have. It's like impossibly more high def, right? Like, aren't we both on 4K? Like all.
Yeah, like how do we get 4K streaming?
Dude, I don't think there is. I think it's so expensive that like, I mean, we could actually look into this. Did we talk about this the other day? We have to go set up a Mux account and like run our own like streaming.
Don't YouTubers do it though?
On in 4K. They stream in 4K. I don't think they stream in 4K though.
They stream in good quality video.
Yeah,
Why
well,
would you buy a
Periscope,
good camera if you, or do they fucking pre-record it and then put it on YouTube?
get yourself some big boy chains, Ken.
Who the fuck said that? Man, shut the fuck up. It's a 5 mil and a 3 mil. I took the 7 mil off. Okay. I mean, what am I gonna get? A fucking
7mm chain? Is that what we're talking about right now?
yeah. What am I gonna get? Like a Gucci chain, man?
That's hilarious.
No, I'm just saying. Like I have thicker chains. I decided to go with a stack this time. I'm still waiting on an AK-47 pendant to come in so I can rock that bitch poolside in an open bathrobe and live my best life. What do you think? Have you seen these Versace bathrobes?
Yeah, like
Yeah, I'm gonna get one of those and I'm gonna walk around the pool all fat in a Versace bathrobe with gold chains.
By the way, this is not
fucking sweet. What are you drinking? Let's start this off with a drink check.
On the Fine Podcast, folks. The only engineering podcast with a 2-drink minimum and a Friday edition. I'm Jared Palmer. He's Ken Wheeler.
And I'm Ken Wheeler.
Yeah.
And tonight we're drinking
Woodford Reserve.
Oh my goodness. What a fucking excellent choice.
Mm-hmm.
I drank all my bourbon. I have no bourbon right now. So I'll tell you what I did do. I ordered like a lifetime supply of red wine and rosé. And by lifetime, I mean like probably a month. But I got like, I don't know.
Lifetime, I mean a month.
Like 64 bottles of wine or something.
That's an extraordinary amount of wine.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like getting wine all the time, and I was like, you know what?
I'm gonna stop having to drive to the liquor store every day.
Yeah, let's deal with some bulk purchase model. But for the purposes of this podcast, I'm gonna be drinking wine later, and I got to go to the store, so I decided to not go. Once you start with the wine, then you put on comfy pants and it's over with. So
speaking of comfy pants, did you order that Outdoor Voices stuff?
I did not yet. So I'm rocking Lemon Claws right now.
Yeah. Lemon Claws.
Tej out there with the Cardew Scotch. Man, now I got to order some whiskey. You guys are pissing me off. He's got the Scotch, you got the bourbon, and I'm sitting here whiskeyless. What I do have is another excellent choice.
Ooh, little Casamigos.
Yeah. So the other night was talking. So, let me just tell you. All right. We implemented a strict Taco Tuesday regimen, and we're switching the tacos
religiously orthodox.
Yeah. So I surprised her with margaritas, and it was lovely.
Ooh. Yeah, what kind? Just like regular margaritas, spicy margs, like spicy margs.
No, regular margs.
Margs are so good.
Oh, jalapeno margs are out of control.
That's what I'm saying. It's like spicy margs. What do we make the other day? I made a grapefruit spicy marg. It was pretty nuts.
Do you have spicy marg mix, or did you spice it up personally?
It was not something I was taking care of.
You ever put hot sauce in beer?
No, that's no.
It was pretty. I was down in Mexico, and they were
like what kind of hot sauce though?
Like hot sauce, like whatever hot sauce is on the table.
Well, like Frank's or like Tabasco or like.
No. It's like a fucking like you put like El Yucateco or some shit.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, I've had that.
Like a beer.
In Mexico, yeah, I've had that.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I do that with relative frequency. I'll only do it if it's like a Modelo or a Corona though, or something. I'm not gonna put the shit in like Miller Lite, you know. But
Dude, I gotta say you know what this is like a weird thing that I haven't had, and I was thinking about this. I haven't had like a Sapporo from like a Japanese restaurant in like at least a year, and I love Sapporo.
oh
It's such a
man,
good beer.
it actually fucks you up more than you think.
Sapporo's
I'll,
great.
like sometime on sushi night, I'll get the sixer or the tall boys of Sapporo.
What's the one that's the Chinese? That's
Sing Sao.
Sing Sao. Yeah, that's like the Chinese Bud Light.
That's
That's
good
pretty.
shit.
That's
That's real
legit. I
good
mean,
shit.
it's like Keystone.
You know what I do? I'll get like a dank sake.
Oh yeah, sake's great.
Like,
I haven't sake
I
yet,
kind of
so
go in between like the hot sake and the cold sake.
both are phenomenal.
Both are good. Both are definitely good. I can just slay the hot
That
sake.
X50.
Oh,
Anyways, Ken, Q&A.
yeah, this is a Q&A, so we need
Q&A. So
some questions and we're going to give some answers. I advertise this on Twitter. If you want to ask deeply personal questions, I'm an open book. But until people start asking questions, I want to ask you, Jared, what is the highlight of your day?
Oh, today I like in coding wise or just like in general?
In
It's 60
general.
degrees outside, so like the ice on the lake is melting today.
Well,
So that's a highlight. That's like I can see springtime coming. Also, I turn 30 next week,
what day?
the 20th.
Wow. Wow. I'm really sorry to hear that.
Isn't that the end of an era? I have to say.
No, not really. Dude, I'm turning 36 in May.
Wow.
And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to happen.
Well, that's already happening.
Your metabolism's going to fucking disappear, but otherwise you're going to feel fucking fine.
I feel like I'm 15 years old.
Yeah. No, I feel 15 years old. Yeah, I look like a fucking cartoon of a fucking Russian mobster or something, but I feel 15 years old. You don't feel any different. You're still cognitively fucking hot in the synapses and shit. But yeah, no, it's nothing. It's not like you turn 30 and you magically wake up and your fucking ankles hurt or something. You'll be fine. Besides, what is 30? Or 30? What are you kidding me? Eminem fucking didn't even release his first fucking album until he was like 34 years old.
Are you saying what are you insinuating, that I'm washed up somehow?
No, I'm just saying that 30 is young. This motherfucker started his shit at 34. Like,
I was talking to Guillermo the other day, and he was like sending me this thing about, we were talking about Google Cloud, and he was telling me like, yeah, Google had containers like 20 years ago, like I don't know, not 20 years ago, but like 15 years ago, and then they were late to the game for like their cloud services, and he posted me a link to something in like containerization that Google put out like in 2012, and I was like, Guillermo, I didn't know a line of HTML in 2012, my man.
Wow. Okay, so we have two questions. First, for you, what does your consulting look like these days? I would assume non-existent, but go on.
If I wanted it to be more consistent, I would be swimming in it right now. I shouldn't say that. I would say that Turbo is an extension of consulting. I guess I would say, right? Like, I don't know if you want to classify Turbo as consulting. Is Turbo consulting, Ken? No, it's high touch enterprise SaaS.
It's not really. Oh, I don't know. I mean, in both, when you were consulting, you worked for yourself, and now you also work for yourself. So,
I mean, like, yes,
it's more product than consulting.
What I mean by consulting is that I am the people who are using Turbo right now. It's like consulting at scale, but it's not like you know what I'm saying. It's like I'm solving the same problem for like instead of it being like 2 people at a time, like 40 people, but it's super high touch at the moment, so it feels very consulting like, if that makes sense. In the sense that like I swap between the word client and customer at the moment.
There's probably a ton of parallels, right?
Ton of parallels. I kind of like it, to be honest, because the difference for me, like what I learned with Formium is that, like, dude, the support difference of picking up $50 from a user then versus picking up $1,000 is like not that dramatic, by the way, which is unfortunate because it's just like a different sort of feel. Also, as I'm learning too, even right now with the high touch SaaS, like the enterprise stuff, it's a lot more like consulting, and it's much more sales driven than it is product driven past a point. I don't mean that you worry about the product, but I'm building to, like, I'm talking to one of my customers and they're like, we have this problem, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go fix that, right? Versus like, I'm gonna guess what people need, and not that you're guessing when you're doing low touch SaaS, but it's much more like sales driven, if that makes sense. Also, like, any of these contracts land, dude, like that's like game changing, right? With some of these contract sizes. So, you don't need to win every single day. You just need to win like once a quarter. If that makes
Yeah.
sense. And that pays for your kid's college, right? It's like, so
Win once, really.
pretty much.
Because once you win once, then you have. So that's the cool thing about it, is like if somebody fucking signs onto it and then uses it, they're like, oh, what do you guys use for that?
Yeah.
And then
It's super.
your
and
organic
thing,
just
like,
fucking
reputationally, which I find interesting about Turbo, is that it's really fun to talk to these companies that you'd think have this problem solved, but just don't, and they don't want to solve it. And it's just cool. I don't know. I got a kick out of that.
One thing that I love about consulting is, you go to these companies, and especially bigger companies, right? And like early on in your career, you see these big companies, you're like, wow, man, they must have the sickest shit, right? And then you go, and it's like every single company does not have their shit together at fucking all. Everyone is sitting.
Anything works. Anything.
It's unbelievable.
It makes me not trust cars. Honestly, it makes me like,
yeah. Like, are other things this much of a shit show? Like airplanes?
Like, that's the other thing. Like,
doctors?
Illusion, like the imposter syndrome just goes away when you've done a couple after like the third consulting thing you've done, I'd say.
Yeah.
For like, one of these like tier one companies, right?
Shit,
like, they don't know anything. No one knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
All right, so we got other questions here. You couldn't seem more different. How did you wind up doing a podcast together?
I don't know how that actually came together. Like, at a binary moment. You know what it was? I think that we're different dudes, absolutely, but we had a real common thread, which was, number one, banging ass motherfucking large dong open source, and conference speaking.
Yeah, and conference speaking.
You know what I mean? So it's like we were very much in the same ballpark there. And still are in a lot of ways, now that we both kind of work on product and we're focused on things like performance. So I think there's a lot of common aligned interests, and that, like, he'll hit me up for perf shit. I'll hit him up for perf shit. We'll bounce ideas off of one another all the time.
I
and
call
shit.
Ken at least twice a week now with just updates about like life stuff, but then also just I call you about like, yo, I bounce ideas off you all the time.
Yeah,
probably too much.
No,
but see, what's nice about Ken is Ken's done like everything once. Everything, like, you've done it. If there's something you've done in programming, you've like tried to fucking do it, and you're like, oh yeah, I've done that with this audio thing, or like you've done. You're like,
oh, you're doing Arduino. Yeah, funny story. If I can build a gun with it.
Funny story about that. And then so me, because I'm like. But both of us are totally self-taught, which I think is where we also found some solidarity, that we both taught ourselves how to code. And so, though we sort of started from different places, we ended up sort of in the same zone, which is kind of fun. And so
he doesn't rap. I'm not quite that handsome, but there's a lot of commonality in the middle.
Yeah, I feel like we I remember we went to dinner and we just like vibed immediately. We're like,
seafood place.
Best friends.
We were them boys.
Scene in Step Brothers.
Right. Then next thing you know, I'm putting my nuts on your drum set.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, then we like each other. I think like we
Johnny Hopkins and Sloan Kettering, right?
Oh yeah. No, when did the podcast start? Like right after that dinner, or was there time in between? Was there a conference?
Maybe there's after. Did we go to a conference together? I feel like we actually didn't go to a conference together for a while.
For a while, until that whole Euro tour before pre-coronavirus, right?
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
That was the shit, dude.
That was pretty tight.
Man, I miss conferences. Yeah, I remember we'd sit here on this podcast and we'd be like, dude, I'm fucking sick of traveling and shit, man. I'm fucking...
Yeah, that was us.
That was us.
That was 100% us. We were sick. We were the assholes. We're like, I don't really want to do it anymore. It takes too much. Like, I remember we talked about like, well, it's not efficient, and also it's a waste of time. It takes.
We're fucking playing every other day.
I would pay to to speak right now.
I would pay to speak.
With my friends. Like, not speaking is like the toll I have to do.
If they were like, yo, you could pay money to go hang out in an airport bar and shit.
100%. I'll pay money to sit and coach and be mad and delirious.
God damn it.
Yeah. It'll come back though, dude. I think it's gonna come back. You know what I was also, you know what I'm a little pissed about too, is that this specific year I had said no to some stuff that I had like planned a year in and out. Like I was gonna go to Japan for like React Japan and Brazil and like really some exotic shit that I was not just Europe.
You know what pissed me off? Holy JS. I was supposed to speak there.
That's
and then
the Russian one, right?
Yeah, it went virtual, but I wanted to go in person so fucking bad.
Dude, that's hilarious.
God damn it. I was so excited to go to Russia. And then it went virtual, but hopefully I can make it out there. Post all this shit. Because I need to go to Russia. I need to.
Okay.
It just has to happen.
Seems like you decided not to go down the path of building a big agency. And yeah, I mean, the thing with agency sizing is that as soon as there's like two kinds of agencies. There's like I'll call it the SWAT team size. And then after a single like dinner table size agency, call it, you only have one choice, and that's to go gigantic, because you have to keep up with like sales and bodies. You're selling bodies at that point. You're just selling human beings. And you're
selling ass and chair, really.
Yeah, ass and chair. And you're making, it's not a great gig. Like you got to love it. It's not that it's not a great gig. You're not going to be coding if you're running that team. You're going to be selling. And every time you're not selling and managing people and selling, you're always managing people and selling in life, just to say this, but you don't own the upside in that equation ever. You're just a body shop, which is a great way to make a decent living. I think personally for me, it got to a point where I saw that path and I was like, I already made enough money doing in the SWAT team zone. Whereas like, or you could try to build some equity in something and go the product route, and that's sort of where I'm at now. But my backup plan is to go do what Ken does, which is go work in finance. And
not a bad call, dude.
What's that?
It's not a bad call.
My backup, I don't dismiss it as like my backup plan is like, I would welcome that opportunity. And by the way, Ken works on sick ass shit, and I love finance. I went to school for like finance stuff, so like I actually wouldn't think of it as like I think that was an awesome outcome. I'm just saying that like I would also regret not trying to do what I'm trying to do right now. Also,
well, right now, what happens is you can absorb the risk right now.
Of course, I don't have any kids. I don't have.
Yeah, if you decide to get yourself a lady or whatever else you want to do, you get some children, dog. You get these things that are, you're not going to be able to run it fast and loose.
No. But,
so while you're in that position to take on that risk, you might as well.
Very privileged and fortunate to be able to, right?
Very much so.
Because that's not something everyone gets. Ken, you've got some insight into like what it's like the small versus big agency, right? Like
you know what it is? It's like with a small agency, it's much more bespoke, right? You're a guild of craftsmen, if you will, right? Whereas at a bigger agency, right, it's very much more ass and chair. And as far as like running the fucking thing, I would never want to. And I'll tell you why, because if you love to do something, the fucking absolute worst thing you can do is make a business out of it. And I'll give you an example. I've been like trying to generate passive income through music lately. So like I love to sit here like an asshole and make stupid R&B songs about fucking people's moms and shit. Like it's really fun. And then I was like, hey, maybe I should like try and sell this music or do this or that. So like I started to like go into the reality of this, and I'm making YouTube videos and I'm making Instagram videos and I'm fucking making album covers and I'm uploading fucking to sites and shit like that. And I'm cutting out fucking JPEGs and I'm formatting audio and I'm running marketing campaigns, and none of these things are making music. All of it is business support for the product. And at the end of the day, when I'm doing all that, I haven't made a beat in like a week and a half, 2 weeks, right? Like I've played around, like I've obviously, but like I haven't made like a finished product in like 2 weeks because I've been doing all that. And the same thing applies, right? If you're doing the code, right, you want to like code and do cool shit. Uh, if you start getting, you're going to be on sales calls all day long.
Right. That's what I meant by SWAT team size. After you get above the player coach size age, or after you get above the size where you can be player coach, like right, like
You will
5,
not
6 people,
code.
you ain't coding. In fact,
You're not
it's
coding.
detrimental.
You're
For
not
you to
even
be coding.
fucking CTOing.
Not even.
You're selling.
You're selling, and and by the way, what I mean by selling is, for me, that was going to be like writing blog posts about things and writing blog posts and tweeting and being all these things that not that I don't do some of that stuff either, but it's just like that's not how I want to. That's not how I want to spend the majority of my day. Believe me, I've been on sales calls all week for Turbo, and I didn't code that. I mean, I added like 1 or 2 features this week because it's just me. But at least there's a product there, right? So it's not just a body equation, in my opinion, right? There's upside. So
Yeah.
in the agency equation, you take all the risk on, you have all the HR costs of a product, right? But you do not have a product. So unless you have cheap labor available to you, or by cheap labor, and I know this sounds terrible, and you're gonna be like, well, it's a salary. Unless you have access to a cheap labor force, you have no competitive advantage in agency world. Because you can, and so you can't scale the SWAT team of specialists very hard.
Yeah. Realistically, yeah, it's
so that's why you need these, like and so in order to scale an agency past 10 people, right, you need access to basically a pipeline of labor, which is a construction organization. It's like a construction worker thing. It's like
it's it's, I mean, you're not going to have that FANG level engineer on your team. And I mean, realistically, what you're going to want to do is set up a system where you can kind of churn shit out. You have people who are, junior to medium level who can, kind of follow whatever template it is, right? Like even then, like even when I did agency work, we did like e-commerce, right? We never did it from scratch. We did.
You have a Next.js e-commerce template.
You have like a reference store, and then you're modifying the CSS. You're doing a couple integrations.
Like it's built from scratch.
Yeah, you sell like it's built from scratch. That's how it goes. We got another question here. It says, Ken, now that you work in finance, do you find yourself wanting to trade? Not really.
The loopholes they put in front of you are significant.
I mean, I'm not allowed to.
That's what I'm saying.
But even if I was allowed to, I actually appreciate that I'm being prohibited from fucking losing my own money. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. I don't know fucking anything about it. I do, performance UI. I don't really get into that. So, it's not like I'm like a stock wizard or anything. And so even if I could, right, like I'd probably go for some medium risk fucking thing, right? Like, I don't know. Another question. Do you prefer working on product or agency work? That's a trick question. It's the same thing. Your clients are just internal.
Side or not. The one thing in agency work, you have no equity in it usually. But
I mean, occasionally you'll get profit sharing.
Yeah, like that game company we talked about, right? Like, remember that thing I sent you?
What was that?
Remember that game company that was that we were talking, that I told you about, that was taking 10% of the gaming profits from that casino?
Oh yeah, that was fucking crazy.
That's crazy though. We gotta get into that. But yeah, normally you just don't have upside when you're in an agency. You're just
dude, I'll start that company. What are you kidding me? That's like ridiculous. 10% of fucking casino gaming.
I know, it'd be so lit. That's the model. You could try that kind of stuff. It's just like a lot of teams aren't there. I also think, I don't know, I go back and forth. I think a lot of stuff's going in-house these days, dude.
Yeah, that's a thing. Like back in the day, like the whole like digital fucking organization, it didn't exist. And now more companies are realizing that they want to own their digital. So, your agency stuff is tightening, right? And
it's got to be harder than it ever was.
Oh God, it's got to be so hard now that people actually have in-house teams. And
that being said, it's never been a better time to be a specialist in something, like an independent specialist.
Oh yeah. Because what inevitably what happens is they won't hire high, and then they'll have problems, and they're going to call in specialists to come unfuck what's going on there.
Yes, I will say there's less greenfield projects I think than ever, and more unfucking projects than ever.
Lots of unfucking. I just like the regular fucking, not the unfucking. How do you feel about that, Jared?
I like both. You know,
unfucking actually is nice. It's cool when somebody's in a bind and you come in and fix it. That's always a pretty good feeling, to be honest with you.
If you come out the other side, I think it's hard. But I think it's, both projects are. It really depends on the level of fuckery.
Yeah. No, I mean, if it's not unfuckable, then what are you gonna do?
Did you ever have a time at Formidable? I don't know if you guys share this, where you guys like couldn't do it, like you couldn't finish
No,
it, couldn't
never,
do it.
Never, ever.
Yeah, I've never had a situation where I couldn't finish something.
No,
or it wasn't possible.
I mean, there's
the outcome
been
was terrible, but like I don't know if like the outcome has been like suboptimal sometimes, but I've never been in a situation where it's like no.
I've been other places where there was disagreement on non-technical things that led to I guess what you would consider a fucking a non-renewal, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been fired.
Well, yeah, not really fired, I mean, not fired, but we're just not gonna just take this any further, that kind of thing.
I've also decided not to continue with a lot of projects too. Right? Like
a lot of the time it's a mutual call. And that sort of thing. At Formidable, not so much. Usually, maybe like once, but I mean, again, it was not technical.
The other thing too is like you could also get yourself in a situation where you poorly trained a client.
Yeah, and I think that
you train them incorrectly on bad assumptions, and a new client comes along that you can train into the way you want to train, and it's for the same money. And you're just like, I'd rather work with these people, right? So I always say this, like, hire your customers. That's also back to Turbo. Like, I'm having so much fun hiring my customers for Turbo, dude. Like, it's probably if I can choose who I want to work with.
Yeah, why are you going to pick a pain in the ass?
What's that?
Why are you going to pick a pain in the ass?
Right. Like, I don't need to give it to anyone, right? Like, I don't need to let anybody use it. That's kind of the nice thing, right? When you have like a low touch SaaS that's like $50 a month and it's all self-service, anybody can open a support nightmare ticket situation, right? Like and then if they don't, then you have to answer to them. It's like a whole thing. But what's nice about high touch enterprise and also consulting is you hire after the first few, you hire your customers. Now you can't always do that, right? Like, got to make a buck sometimes. But
yeah.
Favor cash or equity options at a startup?
Well, we have one before that.
Oh, we have one before that. How can I
sell my boss on using testing in an app?
I mean, depends on what language you're using. If you even want to test, like,
you know what? I mean, you want to test the edges, right?
The bad parts.
Yeah, I mean, like, test.
What is your testing philosophy these days with TypeScript? I want to ask you two questions.
Test as fucking little as possible.
What is your testing philosophy with on a TypeScript code base? Then what is your philosophy in testing on a code base that is more strongly typed?
More strongly typed than TypeScript?
I just meant like if you're using a Reason or something like that.
I don't test it all in Reason.
Yeah, neither either.
No. With TypeScript, again, I don't do a ton of testing. Most of my testing is manual, right? Like, I'll make sure it does what it's supposed to do. And then if it's an app, right, usually the kind of testing that we'll do is we'll test like things that are important, right?
Yeah,
let me give you an example. Like, if something is fucking like critical, right? Like, if you're gonna lose money because this fucked up, I'm gonna test that.
100%.
Like, if this thing is 10 pixels to the left by accident, I don't give a fuck. If this one thing is not displaying the correct status and there's an error and a user can't see it,
Yeah,
that's a fucking testable scenario.
for sure.
You know what I mean? Like if it's like I open this and focus doesn't fucking pop onto the text input, like, okay, whatever. Like that's not like a huge fucking deal. If people can't see actionable business data, that's a problem. So it's like if people are going to lose money or fucking have like a completely degraded experience as a relate to something, right? Like I'll test that.
I
Because
will introduce testing when two things happen. Obviously, if anything's involved with money, testing is anything that touches usage, anything relating to payments. I will test, if that makes
all
sense.
day.
All day, and that should be at a ridiculous test. It should be, and I will test like the real thing. Like I will run money through tests. Like I will do that. Anything that touches money. And then anything, I let testing arise naturally, where if I were to, and this only happens when you work on a team. So if you're working by yourself, it doesn't necessarily where like you need to ensure quality so that you can have more confidence in their contributions, right?
Yeah.
So
if you have something
when you've got something
enough,
technical that's like complex that you'd rather that is potentially an area of regression that's obviously like hardcore and intrinsic, and you'd rather not get screwed up. Especially when you have like juniors, like you should add some tests.
Yeah, if you have like a regression prone thing and people are going to edit it with confidence, that's a good test area because you don't want them to fuck it up.
Yeah.
I don't want me to fuck it up.
No, exactly.
And a lot of the time, you'll have very talented people fucking shit up, by accident. I fucked something up the other day. I fucking sat there and it got caught in a PR review, but there was no test against it.
I think the hard thing is that when we have all these awesome developer tools that are like instant feedback, it's so easy to just click around and say it works. Right?
Yeah.
When you really should be writing the test so that it's like reproducible. But if you find yourself, what I found myself doing recently is that I'm in a situation where I'm putting on a live reload and I'm constantly doing the same thing. I'm like, oh, you know what, dude? Stop rampaging for 2 seconds and maybe set up some tests for this. For 2 seconds. Not always, but just.
Our next question is, do you favor cash or equity options at a startup? I'm going to weigh in and personally say that if I'm going to work at a fucking startup, I'm going to go for the equity. But
yes,
if I'm going to work at a start, like I wouldn't join a startup unless I believed in the startup, and I'd take the equity because I personally would be able to guide that motherfucker to success. Does that make sense?
I think it does. I think the pay cut you're going to take at a certain level at a startup is so dramatic that the cash doesn't matter, because what you should be optimizing for is the equity. Right.
But I mean, you know what? That all depends on risk levels.
Correct.
Because if you have a very high risk tolerance and maybe you don't have an opportunity to get more cash elsewhere, significantly more cash. I'm talking like 50 to 70% more cash, right? Go with the fucking startup and get the equity. But I mean, make sure you believe in the startup, right?
And you understand your RSUs and cliffs and all the other things.
Yeah, like if you believe in a startup, then it's worth it. If you believe in a startup and you can assume that risk, then it's worth it because you personally are going to be part of the reason it succeeds or fails. If it's a good fucking idea and you can personally guide that motherfucker to success, then why not, right? Like that's on you. If it fails, then I'm not saying you individually, but like, you certainly played a part. I would hope that there's an organizational structure where you'd be able to voice concerns and correct any shenanigans, right?
Yeah. So I agree. I happened this summer to me. I was looking at joining a well-funded Series B startup, but because of the cap chart and what they're going to pay me, if I'm going to sell out, it wasn't a viable like outcome, right? It was not a viable amount of capital. It wasn't a viable. It was neither enough equity for me to care, right? And it was not, and it was also not enough cash to get me out of bed either. So it was just never going to work. If that makes sense.
Or like you wouldn't join like 2 weeks before they fucking IPO.
Right.
If you're gonna take a risk like that and eat shit for a little, like, you know, get in there early as fuck.
Yeah.
And you know, you'll have mad points on that bitch, and you'll have the opportunity to, you know, the earlier you are, you know, that's instant CTO over time.
Thing. Exactly. That's that foundational forming portion.
Founding member. Can you imagine being like a founding member of like fucking Instagram or something like that?
We were on TikTok. We were on.
I know we were, but I'm just saying, can you personally imagine that?
Okay, so I want to hear a funny story about Michael. Michael interviewed me at Facebook in 2015, and I didn't get that as a designer, and I didn't get that job. I interviewed him
as a designer.
Interview, yeah, as a designer.
You interviewed him?
No, he interviewed me.
Oh, I thought you said you later.
He was like engineer. It was like designer, like Ford. He was like the first designer of Instagram or whatever, right? Like, so he interviewed me. I think I passed his interview. I think I felt like fucked up another one, but like I interviewed as a designer, and that's what I didn't know. I still like kind of didn't know how to code back then. I guess I knew a little React, but like not a lot. I knew like Framer, like OG Framer.
Why was he? That's incredible.
Yeah. That was pretty funny. So yeah, it was pretty. But yeah, we were on there. If you're an early and his story is cool.
Yeah.
He was like consulting with a bunch of startups, had an agency, and then he stopped. Like he like 5 people worked for him, and he stopped. And then like Instagram stopped and like fired them all, and then just took on all those contracts himself. And then I think he told me that like his next deal was with Instagram.
God, like I know a couple of people that like got in like reasonably early on startups and exited with real bread.
Yeah, like our boy Spike. You know, little startup called Airbnb.
I'm like, I mean, he's breaded as is.
As is. We love Spike.
Do you know where he lives down here?
No. Oh, you're right. He's in New Jersey now, right?
Yeah, he's like in the hot shit. He's in the hot shit.
Yeah.
And that was pre-IPO. I told him, I was like, yo, you need to let me come on a yacht, Pop.
Yeah, you gotta get our yacht.
I know. I'm not gonna buy a fucking yacht. I fucking, you know, I've owned boats.
We had the money to where it didn't matter. You would totally buy a yacht.
It's always better.
But the thing is, it's a lot more money than like you'd think. Is I think the point I was trying to make. It's more money than you'd think you need to buy a yacht. It's absolutely ridiculous. Where you don't care.
I mean, that exists on like a 24-foot fishing boat, like let alone a yacht, right? Like,
no, I'm talking like Russian billionaire yacht type of thing.
Yeah, no. I mean, you know, I'd like it, but you know, I'd be happy with like $400,000 of passive income.
Oh, where you just don't. Yeah, I mean that's what you really want. I have this vision of like a completely that kind of thing where it's like, oh yeah, and then I don't need to work, but I enjoy what I'm doing, type of income, right? Where it's like 400 or 300, 400, something like that on the side, right? Like
there's levels to it, right? And I'll tell you a funny story, right? So my daughter, my 6-year-old, she goes, Dad, are we rich?
That's funny.
So I say to her, I said, well, I was like, there's levels to rich, and I'm going to tell you about it right now. I'm like, we're not own a Red Lobster rich, but we're order whatever the fuck we want at Red Lobster rich.
That's amazing,
right? Like there's levels to it, right? Like I go to Red Lobster, I order whatever the fuck I want, and it's not a problem. But you know, I don't own a Red Lobster. Right. I'm not just an individual franchise, but like, you know, you have like individual franchise owners, right? These cats are like, you know, a couple mil liquid. And then you have the people who like own Red Lobster, the company.
Yeah. Different levels are great.
Yeah. And then you have dudes who are like fucking like unbelievable, right? Like they own NBC or some shit like that.
Right. Yeah.
but there's like there's levels to it, and I don't necessarily need. I would like own like single Red Lobster rich.
Yeah, very few people own single Red Lobsters, by the way, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe a
very few,
collection of Red
very
Lobsters,
few. Yeah,
fucking
it's
region. I don't know, but like, I don't need to own Red Lobster, the company itself. I could have a collection of franchises, and I'd be happy with that.
Of course, actually,
I'm happy.
one of the wealthiest people I know in my like existence and growing up in Manhattan, I know a lot of very wealthy people. Was someone whose dad owned a lot of McDonald's in Manhattan, and also one of the flashiest people I know, like kids at my high school. Their dad owned a lot of the parking lots in Manhattan.
One of the richest dudes that I know.
And he like drove a Ferrari. Like he was like funny rich. It was like hilarious.
So,
dude, I remember the moment when, after the agency started, when like the first checks started coming in and stuff. I remember when I was like, I don't need to now think about. I don't need to take the subway unless I want, unless I think it's gonna save me.
yeah,
I can just like I can just take it, and then I remember it was like I can take an Uber anywhere now if I want to. I remember
that's
that
the thing,
being a
and it's
big
like,
day. I remember and I remember when I could just take taxis everywhere. That was cool. But I remember it was like, oh, I just take Uber wherever I want now.
and that's like largely enough. It's the same thing as like ordering whatever you want at Red Lobster. It's like it's enough.
Right. But then I was like, I just have personal. Then I was like, okay, I've made enough. I just personal car service. I don't need to think about like transport. Like doesn't matter. Whatever that costs me to like not have to be sweaty and gross and whatever.
Like all the crazy shit would be fun.
It was a monumental day in my life.
This is very much enough.
Right. Exactly. And I remember also the day when I was like, I don't need to cook at home anymore. Like I can just like order in whenever I want to fucking. I didn't think about that. That was huge too.
Yeah, it's different because like I remember I would sit there and I'd get like $20 and I would be fucking pumped because I could get like a bottle of hooch and like a sandwich from Dunkin' Donuts and a pack of Marlboro Reds, and I was fine.
Yeah.
like, I was like, oh shit, $20, good to go, let's party, and like, I guess that expectation raises as you get older and have kids and shit like that, but still, right? Like I think that ordering whatever you want at Red Lobster is a fine level. Owning a collection of Red Lobster franchises,
different ball game. I also what other moments where do you remember like when things like I remember tectonic shifts being like ordering in anything I wanted like whenever I wanted, taking Ubers everywhere, that was another one, and then like I guess in general not caring about like what I like going anywhere in the city and not really caring about like what happened, like what it costs to do something in the city.
Yeah.
Like okay,
well, you know what it was
like
for me, like it was never being stranded.
Right.
I've been stranded. Like, I've been stranded in like Mexico. I've been stranded in New York. I've been stranded on like a number of occasions. I got stranded down in West Virginia one time. Like I just didn't have credit cards or I didn't have things like that. Like you just fucking are stranded and there's nothing you can do about it. You're like, oh wow, I just don't have money. And like I just can't get myself out of the situation. But like now, one of the biggest things for me is no matter what happens, I mean, not no matter what happens, there's a fucking earth, Godzilla and fucking flights aren't going, but like no matter what, right? Like I'm like, oh, this fucking thing, I'll book a ticket and fly there, right? Like,
right.
If I need to.
Stupid shit happens is like a limit to the amount of stupid that could happen, right? Like there's just you get that barrier.
Yeah,
it's very
I mean, these fucking meteors falling out of the sky and shit. We'll see. But in a regular scenario, right? If like like my wallet got stolen in Europe or something like that, like I could go online and book a ticket and get home, and it wouldn't be a problem. But I had probably, I remember sitting there like, 16, 18 years old, right? In New York City. Like, how the fuck am I getting home? Asking people for money and shit. Like, yo, like, can I get some bread for the train? I can't get home. What do you need?
That impacts you. That also, like, I remember, like, that changes your whole, like, look on things, right? Like,
yeah, big time. Grateful. You know what it does? It keeps that hunger there because you know what the funniest thing about it is, like a lot of folks, I guess around the world, right? You might like they have like free transportation or discounted transportation or something like that, but like America is a place where you are very much fucked or not fucked.
Mm-hmm.
And
very binary.
One of the biggest motivators for me is to never be fucked again.
Right.
having tasted being fucked, like, like what, like the hunger, right? The hustle, where that all comes from is like, I never ever want to fucking worry about a sandwich ever again.
Or like, oh, someone's paying for this, so I want to order more food.
I'm telling you,
Right?
like,
Like that's not a thing you want to deal with.
yeah, no. Now I'm the guy that orders food, right? And
Right.
like,
Exactly.
fucking forget about it. Just don't worry about it. Are you kidding me? Like, yeah,
All right. We got another tech related question. Jared, real question: does anybody get tree shaking?
it
No,
doesn't work.
it doesn't work. You should
Artificial. It's
stop.
not real.
It's bullshit. It's super finicky. It's not a goal. The solution is pre-shaking, is the term of art
Hey
used,
now,
where you import. You should do this with. I mean, here's my ideal solution. I didn't want to build this. Actually, funny. I have the solution to this for TSDX, but I didn't want to popularize it because the solution to it is what I believe is a bad thing to promote. Here's the solution. I'm gonna pick this up from React Native Web. You should have if you've got a significant number of imports in your library, you should, in theory, ship a Babel plugin that rewrites your imports to their correct location for pre-shaking, and that tends to lead to like an optimal outcome when tree shaking breaks. However, I didn't build that into TSDX because I thought it would be really fucking annoying if you had to install like 70 Babel plugins for packages, because I decided that's the way it should work. I mean, you've dealt with tree shaking heavily. You
yeah,
tried to get it to work. It doesn't
like,
work. But that is a solution.
you
So
know when
like
it does work,
you have
it
the
works.
experience of like tree shaking. But the point that I was saying with the Babel plugin is you have a experience of tree shaking where you import whatever you need from a package and then you rewrite it as a compilation step to its like actual output, like air, like to the actual pre-shaken location. That's how that
Well,
works.
no, like when you do like the selective imports from when you import from the path on Lodash, like that works. Like you do the individual import path on Lodash.
That's what I'm saying. The Babel plugin will do that individual import path.
Yeah, like you do that, like that works. But
That,
like
that's
it's
that,
like
and that's what I'm saying. You
magical
should do that
fucking
magically.
pre-shake ESM imports. That doesn't fucking work. That's a lie.
A lie.
So Chris asked, and I don't know if Chris is still here, but I'm gonna answer it anyway. He said, how's pup dad life treating you?
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, this pup is cool. Um, the kids love the dog. The wife hated the dog initially.
What is it? Ella? What's his name?
Lucy.
Lucy.
So my wife hates the fucking dog, or did, and now the dog's growing on her. It's interesting, right? The dog eats its own shit, which has been a problem, right? It shits and then it tries to eat it. So like, I'm like, no, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. So like, that's been like a real challenge, right? Like getting her not only potty trained as a puppy, but to stop eating her shit, because everyone's like, oh, what the fuck, dude? This dog eats its own shit. Like, it's a real fucking turnoff for everyone. So that's been a challenge, but like otherwise, like it was funny. This dog is a coochie magnet. So I take the dog today. She had to go get shots. So I took her and we got shots, right? And then I had to go to the store to get her food. So we go to the pet store, and in this hoodie that you're looking at right here, I put the dog in the hoodie and zipped her up in the hoodie, right? And just a little head peeking out. So I bring her in the pet store, and all these girls came up. They're like, "Oh shit! Oh, it's a cute dog. Oh my god! Oh, is it a girl dog?" Oh, I'm like, "Yeah, her name's Lucy and shit." And I'm like taking the dog around. I bring her over. I pick her out a toy. I'm like, you want this one? She's like, hmm. I'm like, you want this one? She's like, and fucking he's like into that toy. I'm like, all right, I'll get you that toy. So it's been cool. I mean, I grew up having dogs. Like I had like,
dog guy?
I'm not like a fucking dog guy, right? Like these motherfuckers call their dogs their kids. Like I'm that's not my thing. Like a dog's a fucking animal, and animals belong outside. But I'll make an exception for this one. It's a little French bulldog, and it's like it's fine.
Well, they're literally like the most pathetic thing. They can't even C-sections.
It's a little bitch dog, and
it's like the joke.
It's not like it's not like my fucking kid, right? But it's like a cute fucking animal, right? Like
the effort is there. The effort there. You got to walk like 3-4 times a day, whatever it is.
Fuck no.
Oh really? You're not there. Oh, so I puppy sat my sister's dog, and she's got a labradoodle,
Yeah.
It's very cute. A mini Labradoodle. But Finley needed like, 3 walks a day,
So the Frenchies are
3-4
fucking
walks a day.
such little bitch dogs that they can't handle the cold. You bring
Oh,
them
so
out in
that's
the cold, they
hilarious.
start fucking shivering and shit, and they're all fucked up. So we were like pad training her, and then if it's a nice day, we'll take her out to play outside, and she enjoys that. But like, it's not like a walk thing. Like
Got it.
they also can't. They can barely fucking walk. They're little, right? Like they can't
Dude,
like.
they're like, yeah, they
It's
they
not like
they
this thing's
barely
taking
should
a
exist.
walk like you. I always had like labs and golden retrievers and
Big
mutts and
fucking
shit.
dogs.
Yeah, those fucking things. Those things will run 3 miles.
Those
And
are kids, by the way. Those are like legitimate
yeah,
from those are kids.
those things will steal the fucking tire off a car and bring it back to you.
Yes.
But yeah, this little fucker, she's running around biting
not
ankles.
harmless. All right, Ken, let's get some picks in this thing. So every week we pick our favorite stuff. What you got?
What do I have? Wow.
What should I buy myself as a self birthday gift?
Self birthday gift. If I were you,
Yeah.
I'd definitely get a Versace robe. I'd definitely get a DJI Mini.
Oh, I was gonna ask you if you actually got use out of that drone. That's the mini one.
Yeah, it's really cool. If I went and did more naturey shit, I'd even get even more
You get
use out of it.
the Mavic Pro, whatever it is.
Yeah, but
the mini is fine. That's the one that's like iPhone.
What was cool was, dude, like what's funny about it is you can use it in very silly ways. So like I was like using it to take these cinematic shots of my kids sledding down my front lawn, like these sick sweeping fucking like cinematic shots, these kids sledding down the lawn. And I'm like, where the fuck is this one kid? Right, my 3-year-old. And so I go and I fly the drone up around the cars and I go look in the garage and she's sitting there trying to take this scooter out. I'm like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Stop. I'm like, fucking get back over here. Cool it with the scooter. Right. So you do that. There was a storm like a month or two ago and a tree came down and fucking decimated my fence. Like it fell,
me this. You showed me
it
these
fell where two fucking fences are, right? Like where the fence comes to a corner and it fell across that bitch. So it destroyed like fucking like 5 panels of fucking iron fence. Like I'm like, motherfucker, that's like $1,500 a fence. So like I'm sitting there in the morning drinking coffee and I take the drone, I put it out there. I'm like, I don't fucking feel like going out there right now. It's like fucking all wet and stormy. So I fly the drone over to survey the damage.
Sick.
And I'm like, oh wow, this sucks. I'm like, all right, drone, come back. But like, yeah, it's mad cool. It's like 4K as fuck. I definitely recommend it.
That little thing.
Yeah. So as far as my picks for the week, dude, I'm gonna give you a pick, motherfucker. You see this thing right here? It's the Shure SM7B, and it is
better than this RE20.
Yeah, dude, listen, I have been a condenser microphone guy for a long time, and the problem with condenser microphones is that they will pick up your fucking dick rubbing your underwear.
Yeah,
like it is like so sensitive.
I mean, let's be here. Taking sweatpants. We didn't wear no underwear in this.
I know. We're not wearing any.
We're no underwear in this podcast. What are you talking about?
So like this is great.
Straight to the sweatpants, baby.
I can vape and you can't hear it. I can like click my fingers and you can like barely hear it, right? So like if I'm in a recording scenario, right? I also got this thing, it's called the Dynamite, right? So when you have a dynamic microphone like this, sometimes the line in level is a little bit lower than you might want, especially if you're doing vocal recording
right now.
Precisely. So you get this, right? This is the case that it came in, right? But it's a thing that plugs in between your microphone and your input. And what happens is it intercepts your phantom power off of your audio interface and it uses that to amplify the signal. So now you get a 24 fucking decibels of gain out of nowhere. And now I have a crisp, clear, loud fucking signal. And that is my pick for the week because
my birthday's coming up. So I don't know if you want to send me that. I got the camera, so I don't know.
I will. I was going to send you an Avatar fleshlight, but
oh my God.
Maybe,
it's a big birthday. 30 is no joke. It's like
I know 30. We should go out to dinner or something, man. That's a big birthday. Are you still, you're in Connecticut, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going back from going back to New York for like a celebration that I don't know the plans of, but there are things to do. I'm excited. So it'll be a thing. 31 is gonna be a huge birthday. I'm gonna tell you what, man. 31 is gonna be a fucking rager.
Why is that?
Because it'll just be like
I had
29 and 30 in COVID because like of timing. So I'm due for a fucking banger. My picks for the week. Oh gosh. Okay, I got a couple.
Okay.
Minio. Minio is cool. Minio has helped me build S3 stuff for Turbo
What is this?
locally. Minio, Minio. It is a Docker, very like Docker friendly, um, S3 compatible open source. It's an open source S3. Okay,
Mm.
but it is very fast. Maybe be faster than S3 for what it does. But it's like a S3 compatible API, so you can use the AWS SDK locally with your Minio like buckets, and it's got a like awesome web UI. And so I've been testing S3 stuff for Turbo with Minio instead of like setting up a dummy like Amazon account.
Mm-hmm.
So Minio fucks. Dude, the second pick is the entire Golang ecosystem is like pretty sweet. Like I would recommend learning Go if you don't know Go. It's like not that hard to pick up. Like it takes like a week, and
Would you use it for anything other than services?
Okay, so I think all the Docker shit in the world is written with Go. So if you're doing like container stuff, I think it's probably required knowledge at minimum. Anything other than just like it's what all the shit's written in natively, so you might as well use that. It's really good at CLIs. I think the other thing it's pretty good for is, and I haven't done this yet, but there's some RPC stuff that is like I've been wanting to play with, and I might get into. But it's a weird language, so I don't know. Like maybe that'll in 2-3 years it'll be like shifted to Rust and stuff. But I don't know. I'm very productive. Like
Was it hard to pick up?
no, I learned it in a weekend.
Wow.
Like I was
what would
like,
you
I
say
don't understand like
closest
everything.
to?
Like I'm like on week 2 of Go, and I like don't understand like a couple of optimizations, but all my shit work. Like all the code I know like works.
Does
But
it
like I
need
still like don't
optimization?
fully understand like all of the concurrency blocking mutex patterns
Mm-hmm.
yet. But I know enough to know that I'm going to just hire some person to deal with that.
Like I wrote some C++ lately,
Yeah.
and I haven't hit the point where I need to optimize.
Yeah, so like but what I mean by need to optimize in Golang is I went from so let me give you an example. All right. I changed the hashing algorithm of Turbo because customers want this. So this all right, let me back up. There's this problem in Yarn workspaces right now where if you use there's no way to unwind them. So if you use Docker and Yarn workspaces, anytime any asshole installs any dependency, your entire Docker layer cache, which is like Docker will cache all the steps of a Docker file until something has changed since the last time it ran.
Yeah.
So if you install random thing, your lock file changes, you blow up your entire Docker layer cache across all of your Docker instances in your monorepo, right? Not great, right? So what I'm doing with Turbo is I'm actually going to generate a pruned like workspace lock file. So like for a given package task, I'm going to unwind the workspace lock file and only produce a pruned lock file of the shit you need consistently, deterministically, so that your Docker layer cache doesn't change if somebody installed a dependency that doesn't impact you, right? Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So when I added this new hashing algorithm, which basically what it does is it looks for every dependency in package.json, it will parse the lock file, and it will hash the recursively resolve the resolved like versions of all the dependencies that are actually being used, not their like version ranges, but the resolved ones. Okay, so I went from like Turbo being 30 milliseconds before I implemented this change to Turbo taking like 300 milliseconds. And the only reason it's taking 300 milliseconds now to hash stuff is because I am clearly not like memoizing or I don't like using Go routines properly enough to do this. Like somebody knows how to do this. I don't, but somebody way smarter than me knows how to like not or just like knows how to like do this in the most concurrent fashion with Go, and I don't. But it's still like 100, but it went from like 30 to like 100 milliseconds or something. So it's like ridiculously fast, but like clearly not optimized, right? Like
Yeah.
and so that's like where like levels of greatness where I'll just like hire someone to deal with this problem, right? Like it's not a fucking thing I need to worry about. Like it's still way fucking faster than Node could ever be, right? So sorry for the tangent, but that's where I've like found where like it's like that. You can learn enough to be dangerous in a weekend. To summarize my conclusion, which is
I might give it a go just for shits and giggles.
it's also the dumbest language ever written. So what's weird about Go is it's like TypeScript. You'd wish it was like TypeScript, except everything is partial. There's no required types. You have to manually validate anything that is required. Also, there are null bombs. And there's no error type. You have to return errors. Errors are just like a string, basically. Which sounds like it's annoying. If it sounds like it's annoying, it is. It's pretty annoying. You're constantly handling errors. But it's very fast. And what it feels, honest to God, it feels like you took a bad version of TypeScript. Again, TypeScript, no generics, TypeScript, all optional. Bash. It feels like sophisticated bash scripts. Which I know that sounds bad. And the other thing is there's no like array helpers.
There's no array prototypes?
No. So there's only for loops. But the for loop works on maps. Like it works on objects, and you get key value of an object. You can iterate through an object is iterable, and arrays are iterable. And you get key. You can do a regular for loop, like for like I less than whatever the fuck. But you can also do like for of.
There's not like filter?
There's no filter.
I find that hard to believe.
There's no filter in Go. You can build it, but it's not native.
There's no standard library that has filter?
No.
Bullshit.
There's no set.
Bullshit.
No, there's no set. I think there's a map, but you're not supposed to use it.
What are you talking about? There's a collection right here.
It's not like you don't use like map filter reduce. You write it out.
There's no reduce, but collection definitely has map and filter.
I digress. If you look at Go code, if you read the source code of Terraform, which I've been using to teach myself, look for like .map. I don't think it exists.
This is unbelievable. You actually have to fucking
go look at Terraform's code base and search .map, and I swear to God, there's no .map.
Would write a fucking language that doesn't have a reduce.
It does no reduce.
Are you kidding me?
What's really annoying is that you don't realize when you in JavaScript like how often you use maps and shit and filters, because like
map exists on the collection type.
I'm fairly certain that I've never seen map. And by the way, I teach myself languages when I do this. I like look at best practices. If you look at Terraform, they don't use .map as far
non-functional language, no iterable methods.
No, none.
No generics.
They're adding it. It's in a proposal.
So as far as I'm concerned,
it's
I just wrote a bunch of C++. This can go fuck itself.
Dude, so it's bash, as I said. What did I say? It's bash scripts.
Yeah.
It's bash scripts with a sprinkle of a type system.
Am I weird for wanting this to go fuck itself?
No, people hate it. And there are also some quirks around like memory. So like, okay, so the other thing is that in C++, you can have like a pointer to a pointer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you can't do that in Go. You only have one level of pointerism. So like you can only reference one. You can't like chain pointers up.
How do you get around
that? You don't. You copy it. You can't.
So you just have some like rowdy shit that like calls another function that'll call it with a pointer or something like.
No, like if you want to have like A and B is a pointer to A, you can't have C being a pointer to B. If you update C, it doesn't work. Like it's only one memory location.
That's fucking whack.
Yeah. So when I read this in the Go docs, I was like, but that sucks. Like it'd be radical to be able to not do that. And they're like, yeah. But apparently that's just like bad news bears. And I get it because you can like mutate shit whenever like you want to. You also can't do pointer arithmetic. So if you have a pointer to something, you can't just like add a number to it. You can't.
I'm gonna add on another pick, and I'm gonna make a strong recommendation.
C++.
No, I'm gonna say it right now that the downright most underappreciated language
Yeah.
in the entire planet is Reason ML.
Yo, but the thing is that like try to fucking hire someone to write
Well,
Reason.
that's the thing, right? Like,
So
if
that's
you
my problem.
don't go out on
And
that
I love
limb,
Reason. I wanted to use Reason for this for Turbo. I wanted to.
if I'll tell you what, if you try and hire somebody for Reason, the person that you will eventually hire is going to be so into that shit
Oh,
and
for
such a
sure.
smart
Duh.
nerd motherfucker.
Yeah, but I don't want to teach. I don't want to be responsible for teaching. That's not my responsibility. I don't want to. At this stage of Turbo, I can't afford to, and not that I won't be able to upskill someone and teach them. I can't afford to teach right now. That makes sense.
So, like, I mean, if you want it to be fast, it's not going to be JavaScript. And
Duh.
I like Reason and I like C++, but I
Yeah,
like Reason way more.
I like Reason too. I think it is the. I think you get so much. The thing that Go misses is a type system that's like legit. And if you go to Rust, one, you increase the learning curve massively, parabolically increase the learning curve for
Yeah.
Rust. And that's why I didn't choose Rust, because I was like, I'm trying to ship this shit in a weekend. I'm not trying to like. And by the way, even if you did all of that, we're talking like 20% faster than the Golang version, which is like maybe a millisecond here and there, or like 2 milliseconds. Like, we're not talking massive. It's not just a different marginal scale, right? Like,
Yeah, but I mean, as far as like day-to-day ergonomics,
yeah,
it's fucking outrageous.
yeah, sure. But
I'm
what
just
I
saying
really
it's
want
a
is
shame that it's not more prevalent because it's so
so
fucking
yeah,
good. And you know
I
what
would
it
love
is?
to
The
have
reason that
Reason,
it's
because Reason is
not
a
is
real type
because
system.
there's a lot of people like this that are afraid to dip the tip in the water. You know what I mean? It's like if more people were willing to do it.
Chicken and egg, man. Chicken and egg problem. If more people are willing to do it, it'd be bigger hiring pool, bigger community of resources. Like, let me give you an example, dude. Okay, so I'm able to like look at any Go code base and just steal stuff, like just like grab stuff from it, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many examples of like people have built build systems before in Go. In Reason, they like probably haven't done a build system yet, right? So like
But if they
there's
did, it would be
no
so
reference.
fast.
What?
But if they did, it would be so fast.
Sure, I don't doubt that, but like you're in this like, especially when you like I always believe in like do one thing at a time. So it was really easy for me to learn Go because I was translating a TypeScript code base into another language, right?
Yeah.
And maybe I would be able to do that in Reason, but I actually found a better graph algorithm when I moved to Go than I had in TypeScript because I found somebody else's reference, dude, like code, and it just doesn't exist. So I wish maybe
Yeah,
I will
no,
write
I
that
get
down.
that, dude. And it's like starting off, like, that's valuable.
But there's no generic, like, it's such a shit show.
If you ever get to the point with this where, you're big dicking it, I highly recommend
Absolutely,
any
dude.
OCaml variant because
OCaml is great. Instant compile times, great type system, right? Strong
unbelievable.
mathematical effects, variadic type system. Like, it's polymorphic, like
Shit's fucking pleasant, dude.
pleasant, good error messaging, right? Like,
It just takes
speed.
it takes a couple folks to be willing to contribute to that ecosystem. And
Sure.
I'm
You wanna
set.
be that
You know what the
guy.
thing was? It was like React. When React first came out, everyone's like, "This is fucking disgusting," and it sat there for like a year or two. And nobody used it, And then the people did use it, and people like you and me went and we built the ecosystem around it. Right? We built a lot of the initial primitive things,
I agree.
and there just hasn't been the willingness.
I don't think it's had that adoption. I think
Yeah,
it was going towards that, by the way. But I actually think the reason, so humbly,
the reason.
the reason I didn't do it is because I like the Rescript syntax, and there seems to be a big push behind what the Rescript community, like the React Reason stuff. There seems to have, since that fork, or I don't call it a fork, whatever, that split between the Reason toolchain
Yeah.
and the Rescript toolchain. That seems like a rift, and the Reason stuff, which is the pure, like, the Rescript stuff, can't compile to native anymore. It
I only write
compiles
native.
to JavaScript.
I only write native.
I'm saying that's not, in my opinion, that's no bueno. That's splitting an ecosystem, making even
Yeah,
fewer
but you
reasons.
know what it is? If each thing is going to live to its potential, they need to fly independently. It's two doves in the wind, my friend.
I get it, dude. But what I'm saying to you is that your boy is trying to ship,
I
and
get that. No,
he's
no,
trying
no,
to
no.
ship, yo.
You ship, but when you've shipped and when you have the time, let's see where it's at.
I'm down. You want to come
God,
rewrite
it's
and
so
reason?
good.
I'm down. I'll figure it.
Talk
Like,
to
that's
talk to
cool.
Peter about that.
Oh, I know, dude. Peter's all up in that reason shit. And I
Oh
get it.
man, Peter's up in that shit, boy.
First of all, no. First of all, that's not true. He's in Rescript lang, right? Isn't he? Isn't he all Rescript, not actually Reason? He's in
I don't
Rescript.
know.
I'm pretty
I
sure.
don't
We
know
gotta
where.
get him on the podcast again.
I
But
don't
like,
know
I'm pretty sure
because
it's Rescript, bro. Like, and I
it
get the Rescript thing. Like,
probably is
dude,
Rescript. To be
yeah,
honest with you,
dude. I think that's where the big push is.
I'll tell you this: if I had the opportunity to write either,
You'd be
I'd
down.
take it.
To your point, though, from a hype train hiring perspective, when I tweeted, it was really funny. I was like, I rewrote it in Go, and they're like, "Did you? But what about Rust?" It's like, well, no. It's like, you
What
fucking
about Rust?
ungrateful fucks.
Yeah, I know. So,
But to your point, I feel like you're right. There would be enthusiastic people jumping at this, right? They raise their hands, right?
some of the smartest people I know
Right reason.
choose that.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, and like you think about the language, like who you associate with the language, like what language has the biggest bunch of pain in the asses. Don't choose that language.
True.
You know what I mean?
The one thing I will say about writing all this shit in Go is that I know it's like fundamentally flawed. Like, I hate that.
No, I mean
Like,
it's
I know
all
type,
right, dude.
but like TypeScript,
There's a
is
lot of shit that runs on Go that's fine.
yeah, but that's my point. It's like, it's fine. Like, whatever. Like,
It's
get over
fine.
yourself. Get over
Are
yourself. Like, I just and then I remind myself, like, get over yourself and ship the thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
But it does feel like, but that's where you get with Reason, because Reason is both the best of both worlds. It is that type system and instant compile, right? Like, it's got that instant feedback loop that like nothing else has.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not going to have a lot of the shit that you're looking for, right?
No, but here,
Right.
let me give you an example, dude. There's a
But it has
library
fucking
in
map and
Go.
reduce. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, but there's a library in Go, dude, that abstracts like 100% of all, like storage bucket blob thing that Google maintains, right? That does not exist in Reason. Okay,
No,
there's no
no,
like
it doesn't.
general blob storage thing that Google maintains, and it's just like there's some niceties to having this like thing that Google built, right? Like,
No, but there's motherfuckers in France that are using camel to analyze the molecules of skeletons and shit.
yeah, no doubt. I'm happen to not be doing that for this specific build system.
Why not? Why don't you take it all the way?
Take it all the way, bro. Right? For real though. All right. Well, we got to jump because this has been a good episode. But yeah, I don't know. Languages are. I will say okay. So
Choices.
one other language feature that I think is titties though, we got to bring to JS. Defer is cool.
Defer.
So you can do this thing in Go where you can write defer, which will call the line, the expression, or I guess function at the end of the scope.
Oh, that's interesting.
So at the top of scope, you can write like defer, clean up this function or whatever, like unlock the mutex or something, and then it will run it at the end of the function.
I'll take pattern matching instead, to be honest with you.
100%. All day, every day. Pattern matching is the missing feature of any of Go as well. There's no pattern matching.
God damn it. What I would give
so
some
annoying.
fucking pattern
But
matching.
I would like, okay, so Ken, what is your ideal language? And you can't just say Reason, but like, what is your ideal combination? Real quick.
My ideal combination?
Yeah. Like, give me some pieces of things.
Well, if you my ideal language, it's hard not to say Reason. But if I were to, I guess be more realistic, it would be
Yeah, but like strings are annoying in Reason, right? Like
modern C++.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, like if you took C++ and you took out everything that wasn't, auto or lambdas or functional, or not functional rather, right? Like you just use structs and not classes,
Mm-hmm.
than that.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, I like functional languages and shit, so I mean, I'm skewing towards reason. But
You need both. You need
as far as like a workhorse, right? Like, yeah, that. What about yourself?
All right, so it's evolved. I think the editor experience of TypeScript is pretty good. But I think the compile time of Go is like pretty. A reason is like instant compile is a must, dude. Like that's absolutely non-negotiable at this point.
Absolutely.
And this is coming from me who like writes Kotlin all the time.
Yeah,
Like Kotlin's a great language. If Kotlin compiled instantly, I'd be only writing Kotlin at this point, but it doesn't.
that's cool. You like the JVM? That's weird, but that's fine.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so the thing that I will take from Kotlin is Kotlin's got it's baked in map list. Everything with like iteration is fucking
Yeah,
fire.
that's fair. No, I like
Like
you know.
it's got
I wish they
like
took Kotlin off the
sick.
JVM, because if they took Kotlin off the JVM, I'd write it.
Yo, yeah, 100%. If they gave Kotlin instant compile time off the JVM and they gave it object literals, there's no object literals, is really annoying. But data classes are great. Data classes are dope. Data classes are like TypeScript interfaces, except you can like put shit on them. Like you actually like you can like put enums and actually like functions on them. But
And you know what, dude? The same applies to Clojure.
Clojure is great too.
Yeah, and one of the reasons that I fucking never really got super into Clojure is JVM as well.
Yeah, I think the JVM is just ratchet and terrible. But the what's funny about Kotlin is that I remember Kotlin before and after I like dove into the array, the list and object comprehensions. I remember like the day I was like, oh shit, it does this all by itself. Like you can like, sorry officer, I didn't know I couldn't do that. Like it was like it was like one of these moments where I was like, wait, you could just write like map and it just works.
Unbelievable.
There are all these different primitives that like TypeScript and JavaScript like don't have around lists.
Oh.
And so I was just like, oh fuck, that's tight. And yeah, I think I think the pattern matching a reason is fire. Like that sum stuff is so fucking sweet.
Cash money.
Oh my god, cash.
All right, I gotta get out of here. I'm gonna get fucking divorced.
Yeah, me too. All right, on that happy topic, folks. This has been episode of the Undefined Podcast. I'm Jared Palmer.
I'm Ken Wheeler. Fuck every single last one of you. Have a good night. It's Friday.
Love you all. And
go ham.
Stay safe
go ham.
and get vaccinated.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to, but you should. Holla.